Hello Trekkies, my name is Michael aka the TrekLad and welcome back to the channel. While Discovery's third season wrapped with most of its plot threads neatly and nicely wrapped up, one huge question remains. With Burnham now occupying the big chair, what does this mean for our boy Saru? Regardless of what your thoughts about this show are, it's almost a universal constant at this point that Doug Jones's Saru has been a highlight of Discovery's run so far. The development right at the end of the last season is most likely very concerning for any fan of everyone's favourite Kelpian, and yes, I did personally find myself disappointed with the show's decision to remove him from command. But every nebula has a silver lining, to kind of re-quote that old phrase with a sci-fi twist, and I do believe that this latest shake-up does open up a number of exciting potential directions for the character to explore as the show continues in its new setting. Season 4 is almost certainly still some ways from hitting our screens, but in this video I'm going to share 5 ways Star Trek Discovery could use Saru in the next season. Let's warp into this, shall we? Civilian Saru. This one does seem unlikely given Burnham's monologue at the end, which mentioned that Saru was taking an extended period of leave to reintegrate Su'Kal into life on Kaminar. But what if that break lasts longer than anybody's expecting it to? Up until this point, Discovery has picked up almost immediately from the events of the previous season, and if that story style remains the same in season 4, a civilian Saru would make a lot of sense as we begin the next run. Personally, I don't think that's gonna happen this time. I actually think that we're going to have a considerable time jump to reset the characters a bit and also give them a chance to settle into their new surroundings a little bit more. Let's say the show moves forward a year. Saru on Kaminar would probably still make a bit of sense. Perhaps he's taken up a teaching position on his homeworld. He did seem to relish the idea and the challenge of taking Su'Kal under his wing. What if we're reintroduced to a civilian Saru as he attempts to teach the forgotten ancient ways to this new and very skeptical, distant generation of Kelpians? Now, I'm not quite sure how Saru gets back to Discovery here, but I do like the idea of Saru having his own adventure away from the rest of the crew, at least for the first few episodes. We've seen storytelling like this work in other shows, most notably Game of Thrones, a show that Discovery, at least early on, was attempting to replicate, as seemingly separate and quite disparate storylines across vast distances come together to fit nicely into a core narrative. This would be smart, it would give Saru something different to do, and it might actually help give Discovery that nice epic feel that it's really been attempting to cultivate since its beginnings. Saru returns to Discovery as First Officer. This is the lazy option, so it's probably the most likely. Let's face it, before the events of Season 3, Saru seemed fairly comfortable where he was. Sure, Saru enjoyed moments to develop his blossoming leadership skills and newfound courage post-Vaharai, but he never really seems that desperate to take command full-time, a fact that he actually reminded us of as he attempted to argue himself out of that responsibility in Season 3's People of Earth. Let's say I'm right for a second, and that doesn't happen very often, and Discovery Season 4 picks up a year or two after Season 3. Saru back and settled in his old position as First Officer would be a very easy way to tell a new story without having to worry about old baggage from past seasons, something that we know Discovery and actually quite a lot of other TV shows like to do. I don't want this to happen for a number of reasons. Number one, I think this would be a disservice to Saru's on-screen evolution from meek subordinate to wise leader. And number two, I think this would actually seek to undermine Tilly's own arc, which thinking about it, is quite similar to Saru's. I always want my Star Trek to be forward-moving, and while I think the franchise has a habit of hitting the reset when it comes to crew status quo, Riker, I think here Discovery has a great opportunity to move forward with some new character development, as well as furthering some of those arcs that they introduced in Season 3. Saru becomes an ambassador. This idea would most likely borrow quite a lot of elements from my civilian suggestion earlier, most notably the idea of multi-plot storytelling across a season. Ambassador Saru isn't really a new concept. I've actually seen it chucked around a large part of the Trekiverse. Is that a word? Is it? It is now. And I'm kind of digging the idea of Saru advancing beyond the role of captain. It fits nicely in with that desire of mine to see our characters progress, forward instead of, just slumping back and hitting that safe reset button. While I use the term ambassador, this could actually be easily something else, maybe even a commodore in a move that would please definitely a couple of my friends. Although I'm not so sure on this idea, really because I don't think Saru has done enough to warrant another promotion, at least just yet anyway. So maybe Ambassador it is. Perhaps part of Season 4 could involve Saru and Admiral Vance working closely together on resolving some sort of giant galaxy-affecting crisis, most likely involving Kaminar. This idea does fit nicely in that Discovery mold, and it would also give the greatest Admiral of all time something to do in the new season. As you may have gathered, this role, as well as the other roles in this video, aren't really that fleshed out yet, but I'm just spitballing some ideas here. But Ambassador Saru, it's got a nice ring to it, hasn't it? Captain of another ship. I really like this one. Again, an idea that would lend itself quite nicely to that multi-plot storytelling structure I keep going on about. This idea would allow us to see more of those lovely, beautiful starships of the future that we saw all too briefly in Season 3. More importantly, it would also return us to this idea of Starfleet being more than just a single starship. Because who doesn't want Star Trek without some scope? From a practical perspective, this would be pretty easy to do as well, given Star Trek's long-standing love of a good set redress. And from a storyline perspective, this could easily go two ways, with Saru either kicking off the season in the middle of his own mission that then eventually ties in with Burnham and Discovery's core arc. Think Captain Sulu in The Undiscovered Country.
Come on. She'll fly apart. Fire apart then.
Or the other idea, perhaps, he and his new ship could be crucial to a big event that sets the stage for the rest of the season, likely needing to be rescued by Burnham and Discovery, and then just tagging along with his old crewmates for the rest of the season. I think you and I both know the option I would prefer here. Captain on Discovery. More than one captain on a starship. Have you lost your mind, TrekLad? Well, I mean, yes, I have, a long time ago. Thanks. But the idea of two captains serving on the same starship isn't exactly a new concept. Let's travel back in time for a second, way back to the mid-70s when the motion picture was still in development. An early idea of that movie was to have Admiral Kirk team up with his old crew, who at that point were now captains of their own ships, all on a mission to save Earth from a mysterious entity that would ultimately wind up giving them youth, restoring them back to youth. Yeah, I know. Early Trek movie drafts were really fucking weird. In the Trek that was actually made and actually landed on our screens, we actually saw this idea, or something similar, most notably in the original series crew's final two movie outings, The Final Frontier and The Undiscovered Country, with the Enterprise A actually enjoying the presence of not one, not two, but three captains. We had Captain Kirk, obviously. We also had Captain Spock, and the one that everybody forgets about, Captain Scott, who was promoted during the events seen in The Search for Spock.
Level, please.
Transporter room.
Thank you.
Up your shaft.
So this concept isn't exactly new, and could easily happen here. Now, thinking about it, Discovery's command tandem of Burnham and Saru would be a potent one, with the two combining to form essentially the ultimate captain. Burnham's Kirk-like passionate determination / cowboy diplomacy perfectly blending with Saru's very Picard-esque, measured and diplomatic approach. And Burnham will always be the action hero star of the show, so you can still have a captain stay on board, and Saru fits that quite nicely. We need someone to stay behind and look after the ship. And I'm sorry, Tilly, but your track record, it's just not that great right now. And there you go. 5 ways Star Trek Discovery could potentially use Saru in season number 4, because it is being made. I'm sorry, YouTube haters. What direction do you think the show will take with Saru? What direction would you like the show to take with our favourite Kelpian? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Star Trek and sci-fi videos like this coming at you. Whoosh, warp speed. That's my warp speed. That's what I do now. Until next time, stay safe and live long and prosper.